Welcome back to Nightly Nonsense, where we make some sense out of the nonsense all around us. We've been on this whole devoted topic, right? Devoted to the things that the early church was devoted to. Are you devoted to God? Right? You're devoted to prayer and fellowship. Are you devoted to breaking of bread? Are you devoted to the apostles' teaching? Are you devoted to being a Christian? Are you devoted to fighting the enemy? Are you devoted to the case, the cause for Christ? Are you devoted to all that stuff? Right? But here's the last question that I really have for you. Are you devoted to seeing the defeat of your enemy? We were talking about it earlier today. I was talking with a friend, and we were talking about battles and wars, and we were talking about the United States, and we were talking about that in the last 50, 60 years. We have turned into a country that isn't winning wars because we're not really devoted to winning the war. We're devoted to stopping something from happening, or we're devoted to causing this, but we're not devoted to winning a war. You know, when you're devoted to winning a war, you do whatever it takes. Every weapon is at your disposal. Everything is at your disposal, and you want to win the war. Listen, God is going to win this war that we're in with the enemy. He is absolutely committed to winning the war, right? He will use, and he has used, every single weapon at his disposal, including the death, burial, and resurrection of his one and only Son. He held nothing back. God has used it all. Right? So are you using it all? Are you devoted to defeating the enemy? Do you know what that means? That means you're going to have to use the resources you have to defeat the enemy. So when God says, hey, I need this, are you giving it? Are you withholding? Because, hey, I want to defeat the enemy, but I want to do it this way. Because you know what happened? You know what happened down here today? What happened down here today was the enemy was punched, right? Deliberately punched right in the face. Pow! And he didn't like that. And the reciprocal punchback, the reply, was pretty immediate. And it's pretty severe. We don't like that. We don't like it when the enemy immediately punches back. That we think that every one of our punches is a knockout blow, and it's not. The knockout blow was Jesus Christ. Yours and mine. We do not have the ability to knock out the enemy. Jesus already did that. We're just fighting, and he's desperate, and he fights like a desperate opponent. He's trying to hit us. The enemy has the ability to knock you out. Right? You don't have that ability. Jesus has that ability. And the only way that you're going to get there is if you give Jesus all, access to all of you, and say, you know what? I am 100% in on defeating this enemy. Use me. Do whatever it takes. And you know what? People have said do whatever it takes. I beg them to take it back. Because I know what that means. You know what that means? Sure. But then we don't want to live that way. We don't want those things. We don't want pain, and we don't want suffering, and we don't want poverty, and we don't want humility. We don't want those things. So we want to defeat the enemy, but not at all costs. We want to defeat the enemy, but not really at any cost. We want the good job, we want good health, we want good pay, we want good family, we want good church, we want all of these things to be okay, while we're fighting an enemy who has only one desire, and that is to knock you on your butt. And he's betting that if he can do that, you're not going to get back up. That he can get you down and pummel you. Right? I don't know if you've seen UFC stuff. I've seen very little of it. Right? But I do know that when an opponent knocks their opponent down, right, they jump on them immediately. They don't sit there and go like, oh, you're going to stay down for a little bit. Maybe I'll. No, they immediately take advantage of it. They immediately start pummeling the other person. Why? Because they're looking for the win. They want the win. Do you understand that that's what the enemy wants of you? He wants to win. Do you want to win? Are you willing to spend hours in prayer to defeat the enemy? Are you willing to spend all of your resources to defeat the enemy? Are you willing to give all of your energy? Are you willing to give your health? Are you willing to give everything for Jesus? We say it, but then when it happens, we don't want it. And then we pray that it all gets better or goes away, or that we don't have to deal with it. If you have said, God, do whatever it takes, then let me be super clear with you and with me. Because I have prayed that prayer. I don't walk around telling people that I prayed that prayer, because it's a dumb thing to do, right? It's a dumb thing to walk around and tell people I prayed it. But let me make this clear, that when I said that prayer, here's what I understood. I have no right to ever call myself a victim again. I'm not a victim. I am, right, doing whatever I can. I'm giving all to defeat an enemy. Do I act like that all the time? Oh no, I act like I'm the victim a lot. Right? I have to go back and remind myself, you know you prayed this. You know you said this. You said this, and so now when it's happening, when the enemy is pummeling me, right, then I need to understand, right, that again, the war is already won. If I keep that in mind, I can take a pummeling, right? But I want the defeat of my enemy. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Listen, I do not suggest that you pray whatever it takes, and I'm not putting myself or anybody else on a pedestal who's actually prayed it. What I am saying to you, though, is you got to have the right mindset, which is whatever it takes means it's all yours, God. All of it. Are you devoted? Are you devoted to defeating the enemy? Defeating him. Not just winning the battle here or there, but really, truly, purposefully, all in, I want to defeat the enemy. Right? Chew on that. We'll see you next time. Nightly Nonsense.